dragons call, the werewolves howl, the vampires bite. You search through the woods for safety, but all you find is... Okay, rights.
Hello, writers, and welcome back to Spooky Writes, your channel all about writing. I'm your host, who's secretly a ghost, and today I want to continue our conversation about people not supporting your writing dreams. So one of the big reasons why most people will be unsupportive of you pursuing the craft of writing, of you stating that you want to be a writer, of you stating that you want to write a novel or that you are working on writing a novel, is the fact that many people have the crabs in a bucket mentality. And what I mean by that is the idea that so many people, and so when you claim that you are a writer and that you are pursuing this creative endeavor, everyone assumes everyone has a book in them, and that it's easy, and that everyone should be able to write a novel. But the fact is, not everyone is able to write a novel. Many people have ideas, and ideas are ideas. They're not novels. Ideas are not writing. You need to write, and if you are actually dedicating time to writing, it reflects poorly on people who at one point in time probably had a great idea for a novel, or probably had a great idea to want to pursue writing, or they had an idea for a short story, or they had an idea for a character, they never followed through with it. And so you making the statement that you are going to pursue writing, that you are going to pursue this creative endeavor, it reflects poorly on lesser people, and these lesser people will very much have crabs in a bucket mentality. It's the same thing when you want to move somewhere. Say you grow up in a small town. I grew up in a small town, and when I decided that I did not like living in the small town, that the small town did not meet my needs, when I made the conscious decision, when I decided to move out of that small town, out of that small city, out of that small state that I grew up in, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you think you're better than us?" And the reason why this is it's that same crabs in a bucket mentality. It's the idea that me wanting to leave a situation that doesn't suit me and should have no reflection on the way that other people live their lives, lesser people will interpret that as they are not, is that it's a spit in their face, because so many people who become content, so many people who live in the same small town for their entire lives will look at anyone's desire to leave, anyone's desire to want to go somewhere else, as a spit in their face, because they identify so heavily with this small town. It's the same way with writing, because if you have made the decision that you want to be a writer, it forces people who at one point in time wanted to be writers, at one point in time thought they had a great idea for a novel, thought they had a great idea, and that if only they had pursued writing more, they could have potentially tried to have made it. But the fact that you are making the statement that you are pursuing writing, and perhaps you are writing. I know in my case, I've been publishing since 2015. I'm publishing short stories. I'm constantly writing. I'm one of the few people in my graduating class who is still actively writing. I write as much as I possibly can every single day. And when I tell regular people that I'm an author, they shake their head and they say, "No, you're not." And this is discouraging. And I know it's not, and a lot of times it's not purposeful. It might not even be something that the person is even aware of, but so many people have the crabs in a bucket mentality, and it's the idea that if you're going to succeed, it means that I must fail. And this is an idea that I would push against, because it's not so much I'm succeeding, therefore someone has to fail. It's the idea that I am succeeding and my success means that someone else didn't lift themselves up, because so many people are willing to accept mediocrity, and this is the truth. So many people are willing to accept the confines of what they believe the real world is, and when they just kind of accept the fact that, oh, I'm not a good writer, or I don't enjoy reading, these are all ideas and concepts that you as a person need to push against. And when people who have accepted the fact that I'm not a good reader, or have accepted the fact that, oh, I'm not a good writer, but I have an idea for a novel, if only I was better, if only I enjoyed reading, if only I had been supported more, if only something had gone my way. But this truly leads so many people to be unsupportive of anyone pursuing any creative endeavor, whether it's music, or it's painting, or it's poetry, or it's writing, or it's wanting to become a professional athlete. It's the idea of lesser people saying, who are you to succeed? And if you succeed, that means that I have failed. And this is not true. This is an idea that needs to get abolished. This is dogma. This is something that people who believe the world is one way and don't have that growth mentality and so many people that I have talked to about my writing endeavors, about my writing successes, because I'd say any day that I write is a success, and you should view any day that you write should be a success. The fact that I am still writing after going through 7 years of writing education, after going through an undergrad degree, after getting my master's degree in creative writing, the fact that I am still writing actively every single day, and the fact that I have built my life in a way that supports me being able to pursue writing, is a success in its own right. Again, I was never supposed to even finish high school. I was never supposed to live on my own. And these are all obstacles that I have overcome. Now, had I when I was 12, 13 years old, had I heard the doctor say, you're never going to live on your own, you're never going to walk again, you're never going to finish high school, if I had been, yep, that's my new reality. My new reality is the fact that this doctor has given me proof, because doctors are smart people, they are intelligent, they know what is going on, and many times they do know what's going on. But in my situation, I refuse to accept that as my reality. I refuse to accept the fact that I was never going to finish high school, that my life was going to basically be over, and that I was going to be living on Social Security, that I was going to be living on disability, that I was going to be basically a burden on other people. And I forced myself to be able to walk. I remember, so when I left the hospital, when I left rehab, that sounds a little, let me rephrase that. So when I left the physical therapy rehab center after my stroke, after having to relearn how to do basically everything, how to talk again, how to be able to walk again, how to be able to even just hold my head up, because I didn't even have the neck muscles coming out of waking up after my coma to be able to keep my head up. I had to regain everything. And if at any point I could have just said, this is too hard, I'm not good at walking anymore, these are the cards that have been dealt to me, and I'm just going to accept it. And I could have done that. I could have said, I lost my vision, and therefore reading is really hard, it's really difficult, and I'm just not good at it anymore. And yes, reading was a challenge for me when I came out of the hospital. Yes, it was very difficult for me to be able to read for any amount of sustained time. But the fact of the matter is, I've been able to improve my reading skills. I've been able to understand my disability. I've been able to understand my vision. I've been able to adapt to my vision, and this has allowed me to have the growth mindset that I have. It's allowed me to continue to push against the ideas and the reality is that were thrust on me by the doctors and the so-called specialists who told my parents to say your goodbyes. He's not going to make it through the day. But when I left the physical therapy rehab center, my parents had purchased a wheelchair for me because it was under the understanding from the doctors and the therapist that I was going to be forever using a wheelchair. I was going to be forever confined to a wheelchair. And within a few months of returning back to school, I was soon able to walk again. I was in fact, my parents have told me about how the fact that I was walking so soon after returning to school that they were able to return the wheelchair and get the full amount back for it, because it was such a short time that I had that wheelchair for, because I was so driven to walk again. I wanted to walk again. I was not willing to accept the fact that I was going to be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And I was not willing to accept the fact that high school was going to be the end of my education. I was not willing to accept the fact that I was never going to live alone. I was not willing to accept the fact that I would never be able to live independently and be able to have the life that I want to live. And again, it's the growth mentality. And people have, in my life, when I have told people I want to get out of this small town, when I've told people I want to reach for something bigger, I want something bigger than what this is. I want to push the boundaries. I want to move beyond this small town. I want to move beyond this small community. I want to see what the world has to offer, and I want to go out there. A lot of times, especially in those early days of being in those small town communities, people would be very resistant and they'd push back against my ideas. They'd say, "Oh, you're just over ambitious, and wait until you get older. When you get older, you'll understand that." People have always told me that as you age, you become more complacent, and I hate the idea of ever becoming complacent, because it seems such a terrible way to go, to accept that this is all that life has to offer, and that, you know what, I'm not good at reading, I'm not the best writer, I'm not Stephen King, therefore why should I even try? And so many people will push your ideas down just because they were never able to achieve their own goals and dreams. And the fact that you are still chasing your goals and dreams will reflect negatively on lesser people. And so just to close out this podcast, I think it's really great to touch on this well-known quote by Henry David Thoreau, which is, "Many men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with the song still in them." And with that, keep it spooky, my friends.